For those of you who are new here, my name is Samantha Lotus. It's been my pleasure organizing and helping run the mastermind and the camp and getting to chat here with all of you beautiful humans. It's really just so beautiful to be all together here, sharing space, sharing ideas, sharing energy, feeding off one another, and hopefully being nourished as we're being depleted by the sun at the same time. All right, so today I got to choose what the day was about, and I wanted it to be about structural flourishing and human flourishing. Like, that word flourishing is something that's really potent within me. I think about it a lot. I grew up in a family that was amazing and surrounded by a lot of darkness. Both my parents are extremely depressed, poverty mindset, scarcity, addiction, distraction, running away from reality, like really, really in their density. And I was a happy kid. I'm like a sunshine. I just came out like a sunshine, and that's just how I was. And both my parents were extremely depressed. And my stepdad was extremely depressed. And we lived in a poorer part of town, and everyone in my family has some kind of cancer. Cancer physically, and I believe of the mind, and energetically as well. And I just remember growing up and feeling like everyone around me was sick, stressed, diseased, depressed, and oppressed. And I didn't get it. I was like, but life is great, and the world is amazing. Look at nature. Look at everything that we have. I feel amazing. Why is it that everybody feels sick, stressed, diseased, depressed, and oppressed? I didn't get it. I didn't get why my mom couldn't just tell me that she loved me. I didn't get why my stepdad had to yell all the time. I didn't get why my dad had to pop pills and drink, 2 bottles of whiskey every night. It just didn't make sense to me. When I was like, why can't we just hug and be happy? And as a little girl, I remember deciding, like, I promised myself that when I become an adult, when I get big and people actually listen to me, when they actually listen to me, I'm going to find the solution. I'm going to find the solution to just help people be fucking happy and healthy and well. And so I decided that. I remember being 6 years old, and I decided when I grow up, I'm going to be a lighthouse. And I've been committed to that ever since. Thank you. I love you. I love you. So what I did was I went to school. I thought I was going to be a doctor and a psychiatrist. So I went to school. I studied psychology, sociology, anthropology. I went to medicine school. I became a naturopathic practitioner. I spent the last 11 years working with people through transformation from sick, stressed, diseased, depressed, oppressed, into feeling like they actually want to be alive. And that was my personal journey too. I went through life just asking, like, why am I even here? Why am I contributing to this world that feels so fucking, like, just oppressive, when I just have to go to work 9 to 5 and come home to be like, to do what? To buy the car, to drive to work, to pay for the car, to drive to work, to sit in traffic, to hate traffic, to all of it. And then like experiencing health issues of my own from being raised in a family where eating Kraft Dinner and raw hot dogs was a thing, and that is a thing, and experiencing my own health issues and going to the doctors and not having any answers. I had every single system in my body shut down one after another. When I was 17, I started to lose my menstrual cycle. When I was 21, I got hypothyroidism, Hashimoto's. When I was 24, I couldn't digest anything. I was having panic attacks. I was collapsing. I was fainting. I had brain fog. My body was literally just not functioning. And I got to a point where I almost died. I had such a systemic blood infection that they thought was cancerous, and I was told I had to get chemotherapy and do all of the things. And I remember going from doctor to doctor to doctor to specialist to, like, for years, and everyone was just like, oh, well, we're just going to send you here for more testing and more testing and more supplements and more drugs. And I just remember feeling like screaming at the top of my lungs, and nothing was coming out. Like, where the fuck do we go? Like, what do we do? It just felt hopeless for a really long time. And as I had my full breakdown, where I waiting for an ambulance to get taken to the hospital, thinking I was dying, I got the opportunity to really sit with myself and to see how the way that I perceived the world as this dark pit of oppression and density, contributed to me being sick. And I remember being faced with this choice. I probably could have died that day, and I was given an opportunity to choose life again. And I remember having this, you hear about people near death and like spiritual meet God, that whole thing. It happened to me. I didn't believe that could happen, and it happened. And God was me, higher self. And I remember committing to choosing something different. I'm like, I can either stay in this victim role of hating the world, hating all my doctors, hating the system, hating the government, hating the education system, hating the banking system, hating the GMOs and the pharmaceuticals. I hated all of it. I got like so much rage. I'm really good at hating things. And I could let that eat me alive, which I did for a very long time, or I could choose to be a part of some kind of solution. Or if not, I would have died. So I decided, okay, what would it look like if I became a person that was part of contributing to the solution, first for myself, second for my family, and third for the world? And that's where everything really changed. It changed for me. I started to get better as I chose life. I started to decide to do the things that a healthy, happy person would do. I decided to seek alternate modalities like Reiki, like metaphysical healing, like detoxification, like juicing, like yoga, all of these different things to really nourish my mind and my body. And I started to research, well, why was it that I got so sick? Why is it that we're so oppressed? What are the forces? What are the structures? And what are the systems that are collapsing our ability to really experience human flourishing and societal flourishing? And again, I was mirrored in my body of this like victim, right? I thought that it was my parents' job to love me and make me feel good. I thought it was society's job to take care of me. I thought my teachers were supposed to impart all of this wisdom on me. I thought my doctors were supposed to teach me how to be well. I was conditioned and socialized to outsource everything. No power, right? I don't have any power. I'm just supposed to be taken care of by everything. Because that's what I was taught. And that's what we're all taught. It's like we prescribe to this society that just everything is taken care of us, but we give away our true power to be well. Essentially, there's a cost of this. And we were seeing this in our bodies. We're seeing this in our society. And so my question to myself was, well, what would it look like if we lived in a society where we were all well, where there was human flourishing and there was societal flourishing? What would that have to look like? And while I don't have all of the answers, I have some theories. And again, it's instead of top down, just allowing our society to dictate, allowing our doctors to dictate, allowing the systems to dictate, allowing the companies to tell us what to think and what to eat and how to act and what to feel, to really reclaim our own power, to ask ourselves, well, what would it be like if I was empowered? What would it be like if I took ownership over my sovereignty, over my body, over how I show up in the world, over the work that I put out, over the systems that I create, over the festivals I put together, over the stages that I build? What would it look like for me to go out into my communities and to share my experience? What would it be like to change the energetic from victim to victor? Like, what does society really need? And that's what I feel we're experiencing. We're experiencing this massive paradigm shift where it's not a top-down model where we're just blindly walking through like cogs in a wheel, just accepting what is given to us. With this rise in consciousness and this awakening, we're really stepping into a new paradigm of co-creation, recognizing that we're not going to just be told what to do. We're not going to just accept what was, these broken, obsolete systems that we're starting to see cracking and falling. But instead of looking around at like, okay, well, who's going to build the next one? Like what new government's going to come in and what new structures and what new systems are going to come into play to save us? We're the ones that get to build that. And for me, that's what societal flourishing and human flourishing is being in our power, being empowered with the vision of what we want to see in the world, with the energetic of what we want to feel in our world. And how can we cultivate that within ourselves first? Like to truly feel that within us so that we can emanate that outwards and share that with the world. And so with that, we have beautiful panels about creating conscious community. We have talks coming up about being empowered, about reclaiming your power, about stepping into greatness. But before that, I really want to hear from you. I want this to be more of a conversation rather than just us speaking to you. I want to know, what does human flourishing mean for you? Or what does societal flourishing mean for you? What are some of the solutions that you have or some of the ideas that you have that you maybe haven't felt like you could share or that there wasn't a place or a stage for you? Does anyone have any opinions on what that would mean to change the way that the world currently is with these systems to step into new systems and new paradigms? Does anyone have anything that they would like to share? Yes, love. Do you want to come up and... Yeah.
Yo, yo. I'm Yali, everyone. How are you guys doing? Yeah. Well, it's kind of a short answer. I think that for me, the shift is firstly taking the perspective of taking responsibility for our lives and for our actions and being in that state of leadership and accountability. And I think it starts with vulnerability and transparency. I think that the real paradigm shift is people getting really real, and being able to create connections and conversations from that raw place of vulnerability. It's also, finding ways, and sorry for not coming up with like the package solution, but I can definitely think of some of them. Like some of the stuff we're doing here, right? Like it's authentic relating and it's coming together in places like these. But it's also leaving these comfort zones and these what I call like charging stations and going out there and then being an example to that, by creating more conscious, open conversations with people. Yeah, I think it's authenticity, vulnerability, and definitely taking responsibility and creating the world that we want to live in.
Yeah. Can we get some love for that answer? And for this beautiful human that was vulnerable and courageous coming up here and sharing? You're welcome. And that's truly what I feel. I feel being courageous, right? There, fear and scarcity and oppression and anger and resentment and guilt, shame, blame, beautiful emotions that are very guiding for us, and yet they're not effective to build from those places. And so the way to counter some of those emotions and feelings and ways that we perceive the world is to step into our bravery. It's to step into courage. It's to step into faith and love and trust and surrender. So thank you for sharing that. Is there anyone else that wants to share something that's on their heart? One and then two. You can both come up. You're first, Missy.
Mine's also a short answer. Hey, my name is Suzanne. I think that with all this, we're first and foremost called to help the poor, because that entire group of people, which could be some of us, could be outside of us or outside of our social circles, they can't even process what it means to have an elevated consciousness or even the ability to have ever thought positively if they're in the hand-to-mouth daily mentality. I used to work with homeless and at-risk youth, and I saw these kids that came from families who are not able to even have their basic needs met, no shelter. So I just think that we are called to use our resources to first house and feed people, and then comes, after those basic needs are met, then those conversations. And I'm sorry if people don't agree with that, and that we should just have the conversations with like-minded people and that's going to help everybody. But I really feel like if we want to reach maximum communities, then we need to be serving. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. I really love what you shared there. It's easy and fun for us to get in circles like this where everyone's like-minded and you're like, everyone in the world is so conscious and doing great things and that's amazing. And then it just stays here, right? And we just like circulate the energy here and then feel amped up and then go into our lives and just enjoy all of the abundance that we have. And yet that's not really what the work is. It's about how can we take and cultivate what was created here, what was planted here, what was seeded here, planted in our hearts, and really allow it to be nourished, allow that to grow. And how can we step out into the world, into our communities, into the people that are really needing us to step up and serve? If you are here, You are more fortunate than what, 95% of the population? Like just the fact that you got here, even if you have to borrow money from your mother, like to get here, you are still more fortunate than like probably 95% of the population. And you don't have to own any responsibility to do anything, but you get to if you want to. Like, I feel entitled. I'm a tall, pretty beautiful white girl, right? I am. I just know that. And I come from a Western culture where I've had money. I've never had to struggle. I've never had to be famished. I went to university. Like, that's huge. That's massive. Doors are open for me where for a lot of people they aren't. I have way more opportunities than many people. And I know that. And so I can just take that and be like, okay, great, yeah. Or I have a responsibility. I choose to have the responsibility that I get to do something about that. I feel that when we are gifted and when we are blessed, we have an opportunity to give. We're not supposed to be I don't believe we're supposed to be these containers that just hold it and hoard it. Allow the blessings, allow the abundance, allow the resources, allow the downloads to flow through. I truly believe that we're meant to be conduits of ideas, of inspiration, of love, of resources, of abilities. And so that, we get to help the poor. We get to share. We get to heal. We get to do these things. And shifting that perspective from I have to like, oh, I get to. And at some part, my soul chose this to get to do this. And so I get to accept that this is what I want to contribute to the world. When you see that as this is your opportunity that you have to step into the greatest version of yourself, everything shifts. Activated. Energy is endless. You become this conduit for the divine. And it's amazing. So thank you so much for bringing that up. All right. Hey.
Thank you. Hey, everybody. How are you doing? My name is Jordan. There's a guy called Daniel Schmachtenberger. Maybe some of you have heard of him. He's a absolutely brilliant, luminous mind. He likes to say that in the current moment, we're gaining the power of gods through technology. We're literally gaining the power to destroy and create worlds. I mean, this planet is presently laced with thousands of nukes that could blow us all to hell. We've literally gained the power of demigods. And he's saying we're gaining the power of gods, but without the love and wisdom and care of gods, we will self-destruct. Our species will self-destruct, will decimate the biosphere if we don't learn how to upgrade our collective ability to manage this power that we're gaining. It's like our species' power has been increased exponentially, and with that exponential increase comes also an exponential increase in responsibility to wield that power wisely. And so, without the love and wisdom and care of gods, we will misuse this power and it will be our demise. And so, gaining that love and wisdom and care, I think it really does begin with the individual quest for those things, the individual decision to activate yourself as a student of life and as a student of nature and as a seeker of wisdom, and to undertake this quest of peeling back the layers and finding that deep, authentic part of yourself and stepping into your fullness and becoming that most honest, loving expression of yourself. And it really does have to start with individual human beings, because ultimately our group identities, while important, are kind of abstractions to some extent that we're overlaying atop the fundamental unit of humanity, which is the individual. And so it really starts with you. It starts with your individual pursuit of awakening and love and enlightenment. And then we have to learn how to do that at scale, which is very difficult. We have to learn how to be kind to each other at scale, which is a whole nother set of challenges. Structural flourishing is not so simple, and a lot of people want it to be simple. They think, okay, we need to be kind at scale, so what does that look like? And they want to jump to an answer like, well, it looks like libertarianism or anarchism or communism or feminism or whatever it is. They want to jump to a pre-existing ideology. But actually, I think the world is so complex and the present moment is so complex that we really need to allow ourselves to be in this liminal space between the present paradigms and whatever is going to replace them. We need to be comfortable with not knowing exactly what those next paradigms are going to be, because no one fucking knows. No one knows the answer to this unbelievably, unprecedentedly complex question of how can we be kind at scale to 7 billion humans and trillions of sentient beings. That is a question of unfathomable complexity. And so what we need to do is actually become non-dogmatic and agnostic, and instead be pragmatic about answering this question by actually being very open to many solutions, wherever they may come from, developing test tubes to test out new ideas and new paradigms, and then scale up the ones that work well, and just continue to be open to the good ideas and the paradigms wherever they may emerge from, and admit to ourselves that we don't know what this next paradigm, this next phase is going to look like, but we can discover it empirically by creating these test tubes, being able to test new ideas on a small scale, and then scale up the ones that work. And that's really, I think, the way that we can learn to be kind to each other at scale, upgrade our collective decision-making and sense-making capacity, and ultimately summon the wisdom and care and love of gods that we will need in order to avoid self-destructing with this power, this monumental power we're gaining. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's give him a "You Are So Beautiful." Come back here. I really appreciate you and really glad that you're here. So, all right, create the fire. Rub your hands together, get it nice and hot, nice and toasty. I want it toastier, toastier, toastier. And on 3, we're gonna blast him with so much love and scream, "You are so beautiful." Okay, 1, 2, 3. You are so beautiful.
Thank you.